Lisa, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today talking about the Independent Impact 50 and your involvement in it. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank
Um,
you for having me today.
Absolute pleasure. So, just a few areas we want to talk through, but very quickly, if you could just sort of
Mhm.
introduce yourself and what your main focus is as an independent practitioner.
Absolutely. So my name is Lisa Ventura. I've been in comms throughout my entire career, but I specialize at the moment in comms for cybersecurity, AI, and also in diversity and inclusion.
Or an area close to my own heart when it comes to the cybersecurity and safety and
Yeah,
crisis and risk piece. So, when
absolutely.
you got the email
Mhm.
saying that you'd been included in the inaugural Independent Impact 50 earlier this year, basically, how did you feel?
Oh, wow. I mean, it was just amazing because being recognized for me, it really felt like that validation that you don't need a huge agency name behind you to make that real change happen. So I built my reputation as a practitioner in comms on my own terms. And especially because I'm also a neurodivergent woman in cybersecurity and tech. So this recognition proves that those independent practitioners like myself, we can be just as influential, and if not more so than those in a bit more particular structures. And it's really meaningful for me because I've spent years championing diversity and inclusion while working independently. So it helps show that authentic impact matters a lot more than those, huge corporate titles, so to speak.
Full amen to every word of that. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So you've been doing this for a fair while. When you
Hmm.
think about the behaviours from clients that have most
Yeah.
surprised you, what have those been? And obviously, I'd love to hear all the wonderful surprises, but it'd also be good to know what has surprised you in perhaps a less positive, maybe more disappointing way.
Sure. So for me, a great positive has been how many of the clients that I work with genuinely seem to value my authentic and sometimes unfiltered perspective. So, they're not getting a whole load of, what I call corporate speak or corporate analogies. They're getting me authentic on the ground and my direct communication style. And I've actually found that that honesty builds, incredible trust between with the clients that I've worked with over the years. However, on the flip side, I've been really, surprised and sometimes quite shocked by how some clients I've worked with expect you to be available 24/7 just because you're independent. And there's been this overarching assumption that because we're independent, we don't have those boundaries or lives outside work. So I've had to learn to put those boundaries in place and be really firm about the hours that I work. I mean, of course, I've jumped in when there has been a crisis situation or, something's, kicked off and it is all hands to the deck, so to speak. And that's absolutely valid. But it's more, I'm talking about that assumption that, we're online 24/7 and we'll just jump to do, things that can wait to the next day, so to speak. And so that's where I've been a lot more firm about those hours and the fact that being independent doesn't mean being constantly available all the time.
Clients aren't always willing to pay for that assumption
Yeah,
of round the clock availability.
exactly.
Absolutely agree. So, shifting gears, imagine you are
Hmm.
having lunch with Alistair McCapra, the CEO of the
Yep.
CIPR, and Sarah
Hmm.
Waddington, the relatively newly minted CEO of the PRCA. If there was one thing you would love them to understand about the
Sure.
experience of working as an independent, and
Hmm.
one thing about the value and importance of the sector as a whole, what would
Yeah.
those things be?
Absolutely. So one thing I would say is, we're as independents, we're not waiting to be rescued, so to speak, by agency employment or in-house employment. We're not failed employees or people that are just biding our time. we've made deliberate, and certainly this is true for me, we've made deliberate and strategic choices to be independent practitioners. And it could be for a wide variety of reasons, but we often bring specialized expertise, agility, and often we bring those deeper client relationships because we're not constantly juggling a myriad of different accounts and moving between to one to the other. And I think the industry does need to recognize, and I think it's going some way to doing it, that the future's flexible and that expert-led consultancy is key. We're not the B team, so to speak. We're often the specialists that agencies call upon when they need that bit of extra support, or something's come up that they might be just very slightly out of their depth, so they need that more specialized expertise. And that's certainly true for me, and it's certainly been true for me in the last few weeks with the Jaguar Land Rover cyber attack. I found myself being pulled into doing a lot of specialist work around the comms and the nature of that. So what I would say is, do value us accordingly.
Wonderful. I mean, a wonderful little sound bites there. We're not the B team. We're not
Yeah,
waiting to be rescued, and
yeah,
the future is flexible. What wonderful thoughts. Thank you. How
yeah.
succinctly summed up. So, imagine that you meet yourself,
Mhm.
your younger self, as you were thinking about going into
Yeah,
independence. Based on
yeah.
the experience of having made the leap, what
Mhm.
advice would you give the previous Lisa?
Absolutely. So I would say to myself, come on, you've survived a myriad of things throughout your lifetime and your career. You've survived divorce, you've survived through stillbirth, you've survived through numerous close family bereavements, you've survived workplace bullying and abuse. You've discovered your neurodivergence, specifically with having autism and ADHD. And if you can handle all of that, you can absolutely handle being independent. And you might think that being neurodivergent is a limitation. It's absolutely not. So stop waiting for permission from others to go independent. Make those own decisions. And the industry needs your authentic voice and not another corporate clone. Trust your instincts, set boundaries, and remember, you're not building a business to prove the bullies and abusers in your life wrong. You're building it because the world needs what only you and your authentic self can offer.
Have something in my eye. How inspiring. Thank you very, very much for those wonderful thoughts. Wow. Last question. So, looking at the next 12 months of your business, if you were to pick
Yeah.
a handful of words to describe how you feel about the year ahead, what would they
Mhm.
be?
For me, I would say, purposeful, energetic. I would also say that, we've got some, quite significant challenges and changes, especially in the world of cybersecurity, tech, and AI. AI is advancing at a rapid, massive pace, and it's a little bit like the Wild West out there. But I'm going to be moving beyond just, cybersecurity comms consulting work to moving into working with AI, with clients in AI, some more tech-based clients, and also helping other neurodivergent professionals, not just in comms, but in lots of other different areas, find their place in tech. There's a huge demand for authentic expertise, and I'm not going to be chasing growth for growth's sakes. I want to build something sustainable that aligns with my individual values. So after being recognized in the Impact 50, I now feel like I've got the credibility to be even bolder about the changes our industry needs to make for the future.
Have to say, if the Independent Impact 50 is about influence, impact, commitment, and
Yeah.
contribution, I think the last few minutes have embodied just that. So thank you. It's been genuinely quite inspirational to listen to you talking. I seriously hope you throw your hat in for next year, and I hope we
Thank
get
you.
to catch up in person very soon. Lisa, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me today.